Okay, yeah, this is this is Sam. This is Sam Dameshek.
What's up,
Full
everybody?
name. Sam is a
Dameshek, but Dameshek works too.
I've been saying it wrong this whole time.
You can interpret it however you want. You probably spell it wrong too.
No, I think I spell it right, but I think I guess I pronounce it wrong.
Well, that's a start.
Yeah, that's something.
I've never drank wine. Actually, that's a lie.
What were you gonna say? Drink wine?
I drank wine on a podcast once, I think.
Which podcast
Yes.
have you done? You did Impulsives.
I've done a couple. I did Logan's.
You're a vet.
Yeah, I love these things.
No, they're fun. I love. I mean, I totally get it.
I'm very excited for this one, but I did Logan's twice. I did Summer Rae and Amanda Cerny's like so long ago, like almost 2 years ago.
Is there like a sex podcast or like what? I actually have no idea.
No, it's almost kind of just like, I'm pretty sure I wore pajamas and they wore pajamas and it's like girl talk.
Okay, that's fun.
I did this one in New York, and then I did Julia Rose's recently, and that's the one I drank wine on.
Okay.
All different vibes.
Yeah.
But now we're here.
This is gonna be your favorite podcast.
This is gonna be the best podcast. Sorry, guys.
So Sam is a celebrity photographer.
I think that's
is that
the title.
Yeah, because I was on your Instagram. I was like, how am I gonna introduce Sam? Because I don't know.
It's hard to label me because I feel like I shoot so much different
Yeah.
shit, but I think celebrity fashion photographer is the
and you want to go into more fashion, right?
Yeah, that's like what I'm leaning towards. I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how I can continue to do everything, I guess. Like I feel like I find, well, so it's like I started shooting like kind of in like the social media, like YouTube scene and all of that, and then obviously that progressed into more like high-end work and working with a lot of models and celebrities and that kind of thing. But right now it's just this weird thing where I'm like, one day I'm like shooting a rapper, and then the next day I'm shooting like a pop star, and then the next day I'm shooting like a girl for a bikini campaign, and then like, and then the next day it's like a fashion lookbook.
Where do you think like the passion is for all of these different people you get to shoot? Like, where are you most excited? Is it shooting like the biggest people excites you, or is it shooting more fashion?
Yeah, that
brands?
Definitely. I guess I get most excited about there's a couple things. Like when it comes to brands, I mean, at this point I try to only accept work from brands that I really like. Obviously you start off, you're kind of just taking what you can get. But now I'm like, I think one of like the most gratifying things is 2020 I was able to turn down work that I didn't want to do, or turn down work people would be like, oh, like can you shoot digital instead of film? And I'd be like, no, I shoot film. Like this is my vibe. Like I guess just being able to like have that integrity, because it sucks. It's like if you're supporting yourself, you don't have that option for a while, and finally like I do, which has been nice. But I guess working for any brand that I really like is super exciting, where they have a good team and stylist and this and that, and everything's really cool. And also, working with really big people. I feel like some people think it's like shallow to be excited with working.
I don't think that's shallow.
With like famous. Yeah, but
that's not.
I've always seen it as this cool thing of like, these are the most public people in the entire world. So having an opportunity to like paint a much more personal picture of them, I think is like, one, such an honor, but also two, just like very exciting to have that.
Yeah, and validating too. Yeah. Like that's a thing you can check off. Like I shot this person. Like that. I don't think that's shallow. It's like more of just like an accomplishment.
And this is something I was thinking about recently too, is that, it's like you look at these classic photographers that shot like the Beatles, or like, I don't know, like Billy Idol, or like just like all these like famous artists from back in the day that are like so iconic to us. But I think part of why they're iconic, other than their talent, their legacy, is that we didn't live through it.
Yeah.
So I think all these people that I'm working with now, I have to remind myself that like they grow up and a new generation comes in, and having photos of these people that are like relatively my age at that point in their career, and then they grow older, and even if they retire, whatever it is, it's like, it will end up being like the images you see, like these famous images of like Kurt Cobain or like all these people. I'd like to believe anyways.
Yeah, no, I actually see that as well for your photos as well. You're thinking big picture, like I can see this beyond today. Yeah,
it's like I'm thinking, it's crazy how like, photography is one of those things where I guess I don't even know like what power certain images of mine hold yet. It's like I shoot certain things and there's so much instant gratification right now, which is great. Like you post on Instagram, and then it's kind of like, okay, on to the next one, like maybe it gets published somewhere, whatever it is. But one of those photos might be something that, lasts forever in the sense that it holds its importance, power, or it gains its importance because, as people grow, something of them at a certain point in their life, a timestamp, as we talked about before this, like it's kind of nuts, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's like a pretty fun thing.
Sam and I were talking about how this podcast and like the videos that we're going to do on this podcast are all going to be kind of a timestamp of where we all are today in our careers. Not even that, like in life, because like we'll forever have these videos to look back on and like see our progress, which is really sick.
Absolutely. No, I mean, it's so exciting.
Yeah,
because it's like we grow up.
I know.
Like we get older.
I know. And we don't really realize how different we're gonna be in like in 2 years' time.
Yeah,
like I'm probably gonna cringe at these videos, being like, "Holy fuck."
I know, and I feel like me and you, in a sense, are very present. Like it's like we're looking towards the future. Like we reflect on the past, but it's really easy to be like, okay, I'm like here right now. Like this is who Sam is, and then every month I look back and I'm like, oh my god, no, this is who Sam is. That kid was a kid just learning. Like I find myself like once a month being like, okay, I'm like becoming a man now. Like I'm like growing up, and then like a month goes by and I'm like, oh my god, I was such a child. Like, you know, like
and you're gonna look back on this
taste
like,
and everything develop. Yeah, it's exciting shit.
Yeah.
It's so
what is
fun.
like becoming a man to you? What does that look like?
Yeah. What
like,
a subjective term?
Because
right?
like as a girl, like I don't know what kind of, because like I feel like I know what kind of qualities like makes a woman, but like I don't know what a guy's perspective of what makes a man is. Is it like the ability to provide? Is it like confidence? Is it being a leader? Like what is it?
I think
those also could be wrong.
I think a lot of it is becoming more and more sure of yourself in certain senses, where it's like, you know, I'm sure when you were younger, like let's take the way you dressed. I feel like that's like an easy thing.
Yeah.
It's like your style changes pretty consistent.
It's a visual representation of an actual change within.
Yeah, like your style when you're younger, your style changes a ton, right? Whereas I feel like, you know, like for myself anyways, as I've gotten older, I'm just using this as an example. Like although my style changes, it stays, the consistency starts to be there, where eventually it's like, I'll probably be, you know, I'll know what Sam Dameshek dresses like, you know, where it's like, I'm all over the place, but I feel like you become more sure of like what you actually like, your taste.
Kind of like establishing yourself.
Yeah. Just like being sure of like who you are, I feel like is kind of coming into manhood in a sense. You know, really becoming confident, like, okay, these are my friends and these are who I value and this is why. And like developing, like recently, I think especially with like dating life and stuff too, I found that like I've kind of developed this list of like non-compromisables in girls and friendships. And like knowing those, and like being confident that like, okay, these are things that like I'm gonna avoid in people. These are things I really like, and being sure of it instead of kind of just floating around like, shit, like I think I know, but I don't. And
ignorantly almost.
Yeah.
What are some of those kind of things you can't compromise on in people?
Let's see. I guess I think that the easiest way to put it is I feel like I'm at a point where I haven't, like, I know I've seen so many faces. I know so many people. I have a lot of friends, and it's kind of now I just like really pay attention to like energy and intuition, which I always have, but I used to like make excuses or like come at it with a sense of optimism, which isn't bad. But now it's sort of like I'm not gonna waste my time figuring out if I can like you. It's like I meet enough people where I just click and I'm like, okay, like you're somebody I want in my life. Like we're on the same page.
Yeah.
And if we're not on the same page, like all power to you.
Do you think you look at it more like not pessimistic, but like a realist approach, or like how would you say you look at it now?
Yeah. I'm definitely more realistic.
Do you kind of put the pressure on them? It's like, I'm going to be here and you pretty much show me if you're a good person kind of
Maybe
thing?
it's more of like a two-way street where it's like, you know, do we vibe? Like, do me and this person, are we like, I may not love somebody, but like they could be great in like their own capacity and get along with a certain type of person, a group of people really, really well. And maybe they just don't fit in with me. And it's sort of just like accepting that and like not wasting your time. I think communication too, like the more I learn to communicate and just like be honest with how I feel or like anything, that definitely gives me a sense of like, okay, I'm maturing, like this and that. It's all step by step. I'm sure I'm going to look at this in like a few weeks and be like, damn, dude, like, wow, if only you knew what you knew now.
No, I know. I look at all of like my podcasts. I'm like, oh my God. Like even like it's recent and I'm still like, what the fuck?
How old are you again?
22.
22?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're like the same age.
Yeah.
We're at such a funny age.
Yeah.
It's like
why funny?
It's a hilarious age because like we're at a hilarious age in a hilarious position where we've both been in like a very adult industry for quite some time and have been like around a lot of people that have their shit figured out or they totally don't and they're older or they're younger, and it's like this whole thing that we've been thrown into, and it's kind of crazy growing up in it because like it's this, I guess with where we're at right now, it's like we're changing so frequently, yet like in this world that's like very intense and like a lot of eyes and things going on, and I guess it's just funny because it's like we're changing so much right now.
No, it's actually pretty crazy. And if you're not, you're doing something wrong. I think you really should. I mean, especially in your early 20s, like that's when you figure it out. Like you figure out who you are, to your point. Like it's like truly you find your identity, and some people don't find it till their 30s, but because of the exposure that we get, you figure it out a lot younger.
Yeah,
if you're lucky.
No, for sure. I mean, everybody always thinks that I'm like substantially older than I am, and I think part of that's just because I started shooting in Hollywood and like on this, doing all this shit when I was 16. So it's like, instead of being surrounded by like a bunch of 16-year-olds at lunch at high school, it was like I was up here around a bunch of people where I had to walk the walk and look the part. And it does grow you. Sometimes it makes me a little sad because I'm like, shit, like don't take yourself too seriously. Like remember to be a fucking kid. But at the same time, I'm appreciative that, I've kind of knocked out a lot of the bullshit that I had to learn early on, and I'm like at a pretty comfortable place right now,
Like looking back as a kid, like did you have an idea in your head of like the kind of person you wanted to be at this age? Like even if it was like a vague idea, because I think about that for myself of like do you picture kind of like an idea of this is who I want to be, and you kind of go towards that? Or how do you like go through life in terms of growing? Like how do you navigate growing, and how do you make the decisions of who you want to be?
That's a really, really good question. Because I guess who you want to be changes, but I think there's certain things that remain.
For sure.
I guess my goal is like I want to see myself as a person that like remains having a really fun time and is like a light and a good energy, and can be weird and can act like a fucking 6-year-old. But also can be very stable and very responsible and like finding that balance. Like I think that'd be like the best thing to be. So it's like you meet some people that are, in their 30s or whatever, and they act completely like a child, and it's like, okay, no, you have to, to a certain extent, it's like, look, like
it's a balance.
Treat certain things more seriously, and understand that like, yes, it's like glamorous to be like just eternally a kid, but at the same time, like you gotta like learn that responsibility. But then you also look at people that just, it feels like they have no youth left in them, and it's like
what a shame.
Capture the youth. Capture the excitement.
It's interesting because I feel like people in the creative world, their idea of what is attractive of what they should look like as they're older is what you're describing, because I feel the same way of like you want to be able to have the maturity to do and be serious when you need to put on that hat, but then you also, people in the creative industry really value the idea of staying childlike forever. Like because they understand the importance of that and how crucial it is, and how that is pretty much like expression. And if you can keep that childlike thing, you can always be your fullest expression of yourself and like remain excited 100%. To your point. It's interesting though, because not everyone thinks like that. People look like the most attractive thing to me to be an adult is like to be extremely confident, intimidating, powerful. Like there's some people in some career paths, they don't even put that in.
And that's a very like enticing thing. Like power is enticing, confidence is enticing. But I think having that in a way that's like not as black and white. I think having power from the fact that people love you and love the way you make them feel is like the greatest power. And like, finding power from that, and not necessarily finding power from like the leverage you can have or like how successful you are. That like will come. But I think making, like the power goal more based around, okay, like I'm powerful in a city or a setting because people love me and they love hanging out, and like that is a powerful thing, that when people want to be around you. And I always just hope that like I bring, it's like I always hope that I continue to like bring the thing that made people like me and gave me my success, and like keep bringing like that light and like that energy, and like just to not lose that, but like the excitement.
I think in order to not lose that, you just need to forever keep the awareness that like to check yourself. Am I losing it? Like am I starting to lose myself? Am I changing too quickly? Am I holding on to the thing that made me like cool in the first place, that people liked me in the first place? And just having, because some people just don't have the awareness to check in, and it sounds like you do.
No, you gotta check in check in always.
No, yeah, I check in a lot because like I feel like the same with you. Like we change so fast, and I'm like I don't even know like, and personality is so malleable that like you can really become anything that you want, that you don't even know really like who you innately are, because you can put on all these hats, and it's confusing sometimes.
And it's funny, like I feel like in the last year there was quite a few times where I looked in the mirror and I was like, hey, like don't forget, you know. I like ironically, like 2020, you know, being what it was, it's weird, but like I did have a lot of newfound success that kind of came as a surprise. And
what was that?
Just like overall, I think just business wise and like career wise, like a lot of things kind of popping off and coming together. But with that, you know, it's like being a young man, like that ego is like so dangerous. It really is. Like,
what do you mean? Like
just
dangerous
like
how?
Being a young guy in Los Angeles, it's like, it's so easy to get wrapped up in yourself or like think that you have to like present yourself in this certain way.
Why do you think that is?
Because there's a lot of, there's
I don't feel that way as a girl. So I'm interested. Yeah.
I think it's because, well, that's why like women have like such a power in a sense, is that you guys don't have as much ego. It's like, it's so
guys are they have more expectations though to be like the more powerful of the genders, even though it might not necessarily be true. They have more of a pressure,
but it can be like destructive. So I think like finding yourself in this place where it's like, I remember like, you know, I made for the first time this year, like I made enough money to like, you know, be like, okay, like I want certain things. And I remember, but I placed like this weird value on them where I'm like, wait, are you doing this for yourself? Or like, are you doing this because you feel like you have to prove something to other people? And a bunch of times I looked in the mirror and I'm like, hey, like, remember that like people like working with you because you're just a sweet, nice person. And at the end of the day, it's like, just hold that and stop trying to be like this fucking cool guy and get cool stuff. Like, you know, that's fine, but do it, you know, don't do it to prove something, and like, don't do it to be like all macho. Like, just stay, remember why
people liked you, and your roots, and who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, remember why it started, like who you were.
Yeah.
Don't forget, no matter how much success you have. I think one thing that I really want to work on with myself is, I know I don't spend nearly enough time alone. I think that might be like one of my biggest flaws. And I don't know if it's like a fear of being alone or more of just a habit from like this, you know, crazy last few years of always having the stimulation of people and socializing. And I want to spend more time alone because I'll find myself doing things where I'm like, wait, that's actually like not really your character. It's just like you've been spending so much time with other people that, not even in bad ways, like I don't even mean like you take their bad qualities, but maybe even like taste, like start doing things where you're like, oh, that's not really my vibe, but I'm doing it because I've spent time with these people. Where
creatively, like within work?
Yeah, creatively, or just in a lot of, I don't even, in any sense.
Are you saying like you pretty much notice like you like started becoming a product of your environment?
Yeah, I'll find myself being a product of my environment in a lot of good ways, but I'll also find myself doing things, like I said, not even bad, just doing things differently that I don't think are as like accurate of a representation, where I think as a photographer, as anybody, like the most powerful thing you can have is your uniqueness and like trying to be as authentically you as possible. So if you start to do things that are more, you know, somebody else's lingo or like whatever, or like developing other people's taste, it could take away from like the unique taste of your own. So I'd like to start trying to spend more time alone so that I can like be only, you know, kind of influenced by my own thoughts, like creatively and that kind of thing. But then when I want to, like taking it from other people as well.
Also, being alone like builds a really strong sense of self. Like you really know who you are because like you've spent so much time alone. Yeah. I mean, I spend a lot of time alone. That's why I was
just going to say, I feel like you spend a lot of time alone.
Yeah. No, I really understand the value of it because you get so much done and you figure out so much about yourself. And like, I feel like I'm also not like a relationship person, and I've noticed like people go into relationships and it kind of distracts them from like their path of like who they are. Yeah. You know, because they devote themselves to somebody else, or they're thinking about this. And like, I really just like, what's interesting to me is like figuring out like who the fuck I am. It's really interesting. And if the more time you spend completely by yourself, undistracted, and like quiet your thoughts, you really figure it out. And 100%. I feel like if you just keep going like just for yourself, you get a lot of stuff done.
Honestly, like that's pretty much what I was trying to say. You actually like you took the words out of my mouth, which I guess ties into everything we've talked about. Is like we're at that funny age where we're trying to figure out who we are and who we want to be, and Yeah, definitely. Alone time would definitely like add a lot to it.
It will also give you like a tool in your tool belt of like, I can be alone. I never need to worry about, can I be alone, you know? And if you're developing that young, like you are thinking of doing now, you'll have that to carry in your adult life. You'll never have to worry that you can't do it.
It will definitely give you a sense of security. Like I would think. I mean, even now, like the more time that, you know, I don't like, I would definitely love leaning towards the more social side of things, but just knowing that like
social side of things,
meaning like I don't want to become, you know, it's like I like that I love being around people, and I'd rather like that still maintain like the percentage of my time, but I'd love to know, like I'd love to develop like a perfect comfortability with like, okay, like, I'm just gonna check out right now and it's fine, and like the people still be there when I come back. And I'm gonna do some Sam stuff.
No, 100%. I don't think we'll be able to get rid of our social. I think we love socializing so much. It's never actually going to be off the table. You know what I mean?
Love people.
I love people
That's
too.
That's why I photograph you. I'm like I'm obsessed with people.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, why I guess like why wouldn't anybody not be obsessed with people? Like the most intricate, like that, the most intricate thing. I was gonna say most intricate people, most intricate creatures, things on the planet.
Yeah.
Like we're so fucking
the most
weird.
Fascinating like vessel of life is people.
Just a vessel.
Yeah, exactly.
What a good word for a human. Wait, can I ask for another glass of water?
Yeah, of course. I like how you are always down to talk about like the stuff I want to talk about. Like I feel like you're always on my wavelength, which I actually appreciate in people. Like and it's rare to find.
Yeah, I feel like we could like literally be hammered and see each other and just somehow like go down a rabbit hole of like all this introspective shit.
But that's why I fuck with you, because I'm like, I love Sam, because you get that that's what's like enticing to talk about, and like truly like what's like not matters, because so many things matter, but like you're just down to do it, and not everyone's down to do it.
Yeah, it's like you gotta have conversations like I really pride myself on my friends. I think I have like I don't even have a group of friends. I just have a lot of friends in different places, and I've like formed friend groups around myself, but like I'm really prideful of them, because I feel like to a certain extent almost everybody in my life, it's like I have these conversations with, and it's like I have these like revelating moments with, and all this different stuff, and I like forget that there's a lot of people that don't take the time to have, you know, more important conversations and like reflect with their people around them, reflect with your friends.
No, it is important.
I'm like,
absolutely.
hey guys.
I think it's important, like for like if all you do is talk about people, then you should reevaluate what's important to you, because I feel like that's a part of growing up, is realizing like, because I remember in like middle school and high school, like all you talk about is like trauma and this and that and like what was going on, and then you just get to a point where you just don't care anymore. And I think that's like was a big kind of like growing up marker, is like and same with you, just like stop caring about that. But it is interesting, and I go back home sometimes and they still will be stuck in the same place where all they care about is talking to people, and I feel so lucky that I'm in this position where I have friends, like you said, that they crave this, and they crave like actual real connection and really getting to roots of conversation that are interesting.
Sounds funny, but I guess I've like loved about myself recently is that I think like, you know, especially when I came here when I was younger, it's like I would preach stuff like, no, like don't talk about mindless bullshit, don't talk shit, like be real, like be really straightforward with people. But it's like I wasn't actually being fully real with certain people. Like I would sugarcoat a lot of shit. I'd spend time with people I didn't necessarily love, or like I'd find myself just wasting time on, you know, mindless drama and this and that. And I love that I actually can say now that it doesn't even like really enter conversation or things like that. Like I guess it's nice for me to feel like, okay, wait, you're not just like preaching like what you think is right. Like you're finally doing it. Like good job. Woo.
Yeah.
You know?
A change in behavior in your mind is just in your head. You have to actually change
the behavior. Force it.
Yeah. But do you find that, because part of your job, like you said, like you hang out with people like you don't necessarily like, but part of your job, which I understand, is like you have to do that. You have to. You can't just like hold on to your pride so much that you are like, I'm not going to work with this person because they were a dick to me that one time. You can't. Like,
no, and that's where like I think especially artists, photographers, maybe specifically, you know, I can't speak for everybody, but like photographers specifically, like there's a lot of ego. There's a lot of people that are very, you know, like this is like rigid in a sense where it's like, no, like fuck that person, I'm not working with them. Or
you're saying photographers are like that, or the people you shoot?
Photographers, okay. But I guess anybody in the industry, but like photographers specifically, where like they become so like obsessive, but I'm not doing this, I'm not doing, or like I don't like this person, yada yada yada. And that's I like respect that in the sense where it's like, wow, you're very definitive. Like it's like, you're gonna do only what you want to do. But I think to be successful, it's like you have to compromise in certain senses. Like
I agree.
You're gonna have to like give in certain areas, and there's people that I guess I don't necessarily love, but I like working with them. Mm-hmm. And you kind of just gotta swallow that pill sometimes, as long as you're not doing it too often.
Do you see that? Because like photography is an interesting job, but half of it is like it's benefit. It's like exploiting people, right? Like not really, but it technically is. So do you see that being kind of like a weird question of character? Like this isn't necessarily my character, but in order to do my job well, I have to jeopardize this part of myself that like maybe has to value more famous people, and maybe has to capture a moment of like a person that's there because they're successful. Because
And I think about that all the time. Like I always like have this inner battle where, all right, let's take a sunset. Since I'm like driving on the, I shot in Big Bear 2 days ago, and it was like the prettiest sunset I've seen in such a long time. And I remember I was driving, so I couldn't take photos of it. And I had this little debate where it's like, do I pull over and take photos of the sunset? Or do I just continue driving and continue listening to the song I like? And do I just enjoy it? And do I accept that it's okay to not capture it? It's kind of this, or parties. I still bring my camera everywhere I go. Mm-hmm. But I used to bring it to parties, and I used to constantly be shooting all the faces at like whatever parties I was at. And then at some point in the last 6 months or so, I started sometimes not even bringing my camera, or I'd bring it, I really wouldn't shoot that much. And part of me would guilt myself and be like, why don't you have that drive that's like capturing all these little moments? But then that being said, I'm kind of like, or is it good that, you're allowing yourself to just live these things, like, which ties into the famous person thing too. It's like, I'd hang out, I'd work with somebody famous, and then like we'd hang out, and I'd kind of have this pressure of like us hanging out. I'm like, wow, your time's so valuable. I feel like even though we're just kicking it, I should still be somehow like capturing this.
That's a hard, honestly, really hard position to be in.
It is. And I'm
trying to what's right. Where's the line?
Once again, it's like
what's
that.
Acceptable?
Once again, it's that balance of like, I think it's equally as important to sometimes just live those things, and like would people keep developing the relationship, and next time you actually work together, it's like that much better. And I feel like even me going to parties and maybe not capturing everything, but just kind of experiencing certain moments, like we hold it, like we lock it back here, and then maybe you're writing like an idea for a music video or shoot, and like some little moment that you saw could trigger like a feeling or an idea.
I feel like
balance.
Yeah. I feel like, what you're kind of describing, it sounds like you're pretty much like acknowledging the fact that you give up a part of yourself for the art that you do, which is like maybe not being able to be present in every moment because you're capturing it to show to the eyes of other people, and like a lot of people feel that way in the arts and like in entertainment, because like to be a singer, to be an actor, like you have to give up a part of yourself for the entertainment or the enjoyment of other people.
It's a huge sacrifice. And I think I'm always like really happy when like that sacrifice just comes very naturally. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll find myself in these little moments where I'm like kind of bummed out, because in my head I'm like, I know even though I'm like really present right now and I'm enjoying whatever I'm doing, there's like this, it's like, maybe I'm like in a room of people talking, and it's like a great conversation, and then like I see like somebody look a certain way, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to run out the room and grab my camera. And it's like technically running out the room, I'm like breaking the flow of like how everything's going. And sometimes I'll do that because it's like I know, okay, this is worth it. And then sometimes I kind of stay present. I remember on my birthday, like we're all pretty fucked up in like Malibu having a good time, and I saw there was like perfect lighting, and I was like with all my friends, they're gorgeous, and I'm like, guys, like let's go to the beach and shoot. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah, like let's do this. Like I'll be so mad at myself if I like had all of you guys in one room in Malibu and the light's perfect. Like, how could I not do this right now? So it's gratifying. Like that sacrifice is gratifying, but then on other times it's like a burden that you feel like that pressure. I'm sure that you go, you definitely have to experience it too as like a model and that kind of thing. It's like models and people of that nature, like you for sure sacrifice yourself at times as well too, you know,
in different ways. Like, I mean, but that's the way that you're describing, I feel like, is just like the lens you look at the world. Like you can't help but notice the beauty and you want to capture it. Like you looking at the sunset, you looking at your friends or a way a person was sitting, like you can't help but notice that's a great shot and you can't turn that off. And I don't think that's a bad thing that you can't turn off. I think it's a good thing that you have that.
Obviously, you know, my roommate Grady.
Yeah.
Grady's a musician, people. But I last night like looked at him and I just thought of something so cool because it's like
what did you think of?
He's a musician and I'm a visual artist, and I'm like, Grady, like we live together and you hear everything and I see everything. It's like I see the things that people don't see and then I show them, and like you hear the things that people don't hear and you create it so they can hear it. And it's like it was just this cool little moment I had where I'm like, damn, like my, you know, it's like like this, the different senses, like sight and sound. Like I don't, you know, it's fucking sick.
What quality do you think like about yourself, not necessarily career wise, but like do you think has helped you the most in life?
I would say in life and career wise, I think
like, is there a rule you live by?
I mean, yeah, there's different rules, but I think like a quality that I have that both career and just life wise, I was gonna say social skills. Social skills is broad, but maybe let's say like intuition. Intuition and you know, and that could mean a couple things. Intuition, like social cues, like you know, being intuitive to like how someone actually feels. Yeah. So it's like you can really know, you know, how to like steer a conversation or a vibe, or like, you know, just being able to pick up on things so that you can
like read people.
Read people, match someone's energy. Like, you know, it's like say I'm shooting, like reading someone and knowing like, okay, I bet they'd like this kind of music, or like say we're working on the beach and like a person's fucking freezing cold. I like know so many photographers would be like, oh, go in the ocean or like do this, and it's like knowing like, okay, wait, maybe this, as simple as that sounds, like maybe this person's cold, or like, you know, just knowing like what, I guess like really just having a sense of like who somebody is and who the people around you are, so that you can like, you know, take like the version of yourself but like curate it in certain senses to like please a room and please people around you. I think that's like taking me
I think that's really beyond far. Reading people. I feel like that's reading people and then also understanding them, you know, like, or at least trying to understand them to help better read them.
And some people would be like, oh, like don't change for anybody, like always be yourself. But you can be yourself and
change for someone in a positive way.
You can be yourself and also like manipulate that version. Like I feel like there's a lot of different versions of myself. I have different attitudes, I have different feelings. Same. You know, your music taste, my music taste, we are so all over the place. So it's like you're not being different. You're kind of just figuring out, all right, what version of myself is going to work best in this situation? You know what I mean? And that's totally fine. Like,
and no one's just one thing. Like that doesn't exist. People can put on all different types of hats and be all different kinds of people. And I'm sure you notice this too. And I'm sure most people notice this, like different people that they're with, they become someone else and it's exclusive to that person. That person will bring out something in them that totally changes who they are, but in a true, genuine form of who they are.
Absolutely.
You know?
And then with that being said too, like, you know, look at what certain people bring out of you. Yeah. Because you like, it's always the best when you meet someone that brings out a part of yourself that you love. Yeah. And for some reason that person always brings it out. And you can't figure out why other people don't, but that person does. And you're like, oh my God, I love the way I feel when, you know, this person brings this part out of me. Yeah. And it's like, I don't know.
Well, that's noticing who you want in your life, you know? That the intuition that you had and that you named is one of the things. What, besides something that you had naturally, what's something you've picked up on that has helped you?
Ooh, it's a good question. Great question, Charlotte. Maybe this one seems obvious, but you know what I like started valuing, I think in the last like 6-7 months, like more than ever, is humor. Is being funny and people that are funny. Like
it's important.
It's an obvious thing, but I realize like if you can really get good at making people fucking laugh, it really is just so beneficial in any capacity. Yeah. Because laughter, what's laughter? It's like it's happiness essentially. Yeah. So if you can always just like make somebody laugh and even make them uncomfortable, but in like the good way, like, you know, like it's like jokes can be vulnerable and like this kind of thing. Like I guess I started really placing more importance on like, dude, like make people laugh.
Also, like what I didn't realize until like I've gotten older, but like I've heard, because I feel like guys kind of pick up on this like sooner maybe than girls do, but that humor is a skill that you can build and get good at. I didn't know that, and I didn't think of humor like that. I thought it was like something you innately had, but it is something guys like actually work on to get better, and thank God they do. And I'm like, I think that's fucking amazing. Yeah, but it's true.
No, I like full transparency. I do it all the time.
I love
it's like
that.
I have so many like. I feel like all my friends are like way funnier than I am. So I'm constantly picking up on their little nuances, and I'm like, that's fucking hilarious. I'm stealing this from you. Like this little thing you do, this little quirk. Like I love it.
For dating, do you notice like now that you've kind of gained success and momentum and like you're well respected in your industry, like do you notice like how has that changed your dating life? Like from before you started photography?
I think. I mean, well, shit. I feel like I've been shooting like for forever at this point. But
I guess. Before you gained success.
Yeah, before it really changed.
Yeah. That'll be my next question.
Okay. I think if anything, it's changed my single life more. Where it's hard to say. It's like I've dated like 3 people. One person I dated twice.
That's amazing. By the way,
that person I had known for like years, and I think I see it more in my single life in the sense that like I see the attention I receive, and we love it. Like we love attention from the opposite sex. Who doesn't? So it's great to kind of like, just enjoy that, but at the same time, you have to like heighten your awareness and like put your guard up. I guess having more success and being in a more guarded position. Anytime somebody like breaks my trust, it's like fuck. Like I was loving that I wasn't that guarded, and now I have to be that much more guarded.
Yeah.
And like I would love to just stay as open as possible and be able to like hold optimism. I never want to become somebody that's just like sees the worst in people because they've been fucked over so many times. So I'm like, I don't know.
It's called like being damaged, and you just like don't want to let it actually damage you.
Yeah, I'm like, no, like don't fuck with me. I like this guy. Like I don't want to be like a Scrooge. It's all bummed out.
Yeah, no, completely. Wait, side note, is this camera fine? This middle one?
So I'll just address the elephant in the room, but Charlotte's camera, the one in the middle that shows the both of us, it didn't work. So now we're on an iPhone. It's just like a brick wall.
Dude, people think I film in a fucking cafe. I'm like, this is where
it kind of looks like a cafe. Or like I feel like I'm like sitting in like some like New York cafe, like doing like some little job interview.
This is a projector screen that lifts up, and it looks like a room divider, but it's a screen and it's flimsy, and it lifts up, and the bed is right behind there. There's like my bed is right there, like behind this, and my clothes are right here. It just
Do you live here?
Yes, I live here.
Oh my god!
Didn't we discuss this when you came in?
No, we discussed that Grady lived here.
No, I live here for like 2 more weeks. I've been here for like 6 months.
Wow, Charlotte's homeless.
I'm literally homeless. It's actually crazy. I've been like living from couch to couch for like a year and a half. No, like a year. Like a year.
Charlotte DeLessio is fucking homeless.
That's the headline.
I mean, I guess this is a pretty funny way to be homeless.
In the Hollywood Hills in a beautiful guest house.
Yeah.
Sam and I share a very similar outlook on life.
We're like on the same wave.
Yeah. Which is.
No, what we're saying, and this is like, it's a hard thing to say, but like.
I think it's funny.
It is funny, but it's fucking true. Normalize. I guess this is like more to people in this industry and in LA. But like normalize being excited by and appreciating the fact that people are hot, rich, and famous. That sounds super crazy, but let me elaborate here. It's like I think in LA there's this whole thing where people try so hard to act like they don't care. Where I have to, and I got to a point where I'm like, wait. I do care. Everybody here is like in the top 1% of what they do.
Yeah.
And that is like such a remarkable sign of success, intelligence, and with a lot of people it's really admirable. And it's like, hey, like if somebody's really wealthy or famous or like is this beautiful person or like has all this shit going, like don't act like you just don't give a fuck. Like you can give a fuck. You should
special.
You should appreciate it and be inspired by it. Yeah. Like that's so cool. Like
I don't think it's that shallow because it's not like you're just like, oh, I'm so interested in the fame aspect. It's these people are extraordinary. Yeah. And it would be a crime and foolish and not even helpful to you to desensitize to it and dull it down if like I'm no longer intrigued or enticed or excited by this thing that would have made my 12-year-old self freak the fuck out.
Exactly.
You know?
What the fuck is happiness if like you get to the place that you always wanted to be and you're around the people that you've always wanted to meet and people that are at the place where you want to be even where you're at now?
Yeah.
What's the point of acting like you don't care?
Yeah.
Because it's like you do care. Yeah. Everybody cares. Everybody gives a fuck. You just act like you don't because you think that's what you're supposed to do, but that's It is so stupid. It's like people are like, oh, like, I'm like, would I want to hang out with somebody more because they're wealthy or famous? In certain senses, yes. It's fucking interesting. They're most likely one of the best people at whatever they do.
And they know something you don't.
Yeah.
And you could learn a lot from these people.
I can't speak for everybody. There's a lot of people that aren't. But there's a lot of people in that category that are, and it's like I learn and it's inspiring, and like that's what we were talking about off camera. That I think that there's a stigma that you have to be too cool for school and act like you don't care when people have all these things, and you don't. There is a shallow way to care about it. Like there is this type of person that cares about it in the wrong.
That's all they care about, or they only prioritize like climbing up a social ladder.
But there's a middle ground where you can appreciate like the successful people in your life, and you can be excited by them, and you can tell them how excited you are by them. It's like I think like a couple of years ago, like I remember, it's like people always do this thing where like they meet somebody like, a famous artist that they love. And cause it's like you meet everybody out in LA, and they do this thing where they try to act like they don't know who they are, when realistically they might know every word of one of their songs, because they think, I'll look cool if I don't know who they're. Fuck that.
Yeah.
Dude, literally anytime I meet somebody like who like makes music I love, I'm like, I'll walk up to them and be like, dude, you're fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like I love your shit. Like I love your music. Like you're so good. Like you're so talented. It's like, be genuine about the way you feel. Like that just carries.
I agree. And I remember noticing when I moved to LA, like when I came here, it was cool to not care about all the really exciting things that you were doing. You would go to like this person's house and like it'd be such a crazy night and like so extremely fun. And I noticed it was cool if you didn't give a fuck. And I was like, but this is really exciting to me.
Like houses too. It's like there's like
houses.
There is the most ridiculous homes in Los Angeles. Just absolutely absurd. And you like go to one of these parties and everybody just kind of like tramps around in it like you're not in a $35 million house in Beverly Hills.
That you've never, like it's too beautiful.
That fucking sentence and stop being such like a pretentious little girl and be like, yo, like
thank you.
It's okay to be like, hey, this is really sick. It doesn't make you materialistic. It's fucking cool. It looks dope. It's rad. Like just accept it and appreciate that you get to be there. And so many people don't. I appreciate it all the time and I'm so lucky. Yeah. And like, I don't know, I could get so into this.
No, I can get into this too. It pisses me. There's two ways to go through life in this position, I feel like, and like so many people go the route where they like don't give a fuck about how successful they're. So desensitized, they think it's normal.
No, but that's the thing is they do give a fuck. They
no, but
act
some
like
people
they don't.
no. I think some people actually can desensitize to it and don't care, because I remember
even
when I
both of us I'm sure have, and you have to be
and
like,
then you bring it back. You
bring
it back.
Hey,
yes, yeah.
Like, hey,
like don't forget where the fuck you are, and like your 12-year-old self will be freaking out, and if you're not freaking out right now, you've lost a part of yourself. You've lost a part of yourself to be looking cool.
It's also like, dude,
and I think it's cool to be excited.
We're 21 and 22.
Yeah.
It's like, if you lose your excitement now,
you're fucked. You're fucked.
When you're older, oh my god, you miserable old piece of shit. Is what I tell myself every time I feel like I'm gonna like. Every time I start to be like, oh man, like. So understimulated, yet I have so much going on. Like I've seen everything. I'm so used. I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, be quiet. Like,
no, yeah.
Go spend a week in a fucking dark room so that you just appreciate everything again.
Yeah.
Thank you, COVID, in a sense. Like,
totally.
Not thank you, COVID. Like it's fucking horrible. People are dying. It
but
sucks.
you're looking at the silver lining.
But like the silver lining is that. With once again restaurants being closed, we were on the way here, and I drove by one of my favorite Italian places, and my heart swelled. It was like, oh my god, to have pasta there and be outside at a restaurant sounds awesome. Oh my god, does that sound sick? I forgot what it's like. I like just moved in the Studio City area, and I'm like driving down. I'm like, all these restaurants I haven't tried. I'm like, dates and this and that. I'm like going out to eat with my friends. I'm like, I can't believe that like we got to do that at one point. Now I'm like, I'm gonna appreciate it so much more.
Yeah. I think what it is also too, I mean, the second you start taking things, like you stop becoming excited about things, is the second you start taking them for granted. And I feel like the more you're excited about things and continue to be, it's the more you're keeping on to the perspective that your life is great. Yeah. And if you let go of that, you start getting lost into like, you take everything for granted, and you don't care about the things you once cared about. And it makes your life a lot more miserable.
One of the coolest things that was ever said to me, I'm not gonna name names because I don't know if he'd want me to, but my buddy's dad is one of the most successful people I've ever met. He's just one of those people where I'm like, fuck, dude, you just constantly win. Yeah. And I had the opportunity when I started Wish Me Luck, I was going to potentially have him invest, and I took an hour-long phone call with him. I was talking to him, and basically like he was in like a tech background, like in a very like less, I guess, stimulating type thing.
Or simulating a different way.
Yeah, and he sold whatever he was doing in this like this more corporate like techie area for like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. But he was still young, and he's like, okay, well now I just want to like start something where I have an excuse to live in a place I like and be in like a certain industry that I like. So I'm gonna start like a passion project. But his passion project turned into like $1 billion business.
Of course.
That was also based around the things that he actually liked. And he's telling me about all this, and I'm like, and he's like, but yeah, no. So I just sold it, and I'm back in tech. And I'm like, so you mean to tell me that like you hit a lick in the tech world, and then you're like, I'm gonna start a passion project based off your passions that ended up becoming even more successful, and you just left it to go back to the thing that you didn't necessarily love. Like, why would you do that? And he's like, dude, like, you build this like massive business in an industry where it's like you're at every basketball game, you're on every private jet, you go to every fucking country, you know every single singer, you get to go to every you do everything that any person could never fathom. And he goes, and you start to not appreciate it or care about it. He goes, so I wanted to put myself back in a more under-stimulating position so I could look at the life I've lived and, one, appreciate it more, and two, get excited about the things that I now have access to instead of just having access to them and not really being that excited about it.
Yeah.
And I heard that and I was like, dude, that is so cool.
Yeah.
Like that is like just, and it's like, it's one of those things where like you do sometimes have to like actually purposely, when you're in something like that, and this could be in a lot of different fields, like take yourself out of it a little bit so you can come back in and like, thrive in it.
Yeah. That man is very wise and also is seeking fulfillment.
How about I ask you what's your love life been like?
My love life?
Yeah. My love life.
I notice I don't really prioritize that much.
That's sick.
I don't think I look at guys. This is what I've noticed about myself recently. I don't really think I look at guys as like possible sexual partners. I don't look at guys like that. I look at guys as like always my friends. And someone has to
then when does it change?
Someone has to really like I don't think because that's the thing, I spend so much time alone that I'm never craving company. I'm craving someone who like really blows me away, and like there's something about them that I need to be, and they're going to teach me so much, and I'm going to learn. They need to teach me a lot of stuff. I don't want someone I have to teach. I want them to teach me stuff. And I find, and like stuff about how to go through life, not about particular things.
Then this ties into something like a little inner battle I've had recently. I feel like there's two types of like something that moves into a really great relationship. There's the people where it's like the spark is so instant, and like you meet them and it's almost like before words have even come out of your mouth, you connect. And this could be with friends too.
Yeah.
But also partners, even if it's just a sexual partner, not even romantically, like sometimes you just have this instant connection. And I started to put a lot of pressure on that, where sometimes I'd meet people, and if I didn't instantly click with them, friends, romantically, whatever it is, I'd be like, oh, it's not going to be a thing. And then I'm like, wait, no. Like, there's a lot of times where it's like you end up having this beautiful, bountiful relationship with somebody that like you've hung out with a million times, and then at a certain point it just transgresses into something, or like it just shifts. Or even with friends, like you're around somebody a bunch, and then all of a sudden it just turns into something. And it's like, shit, like, is it a combination of both? Like, sometimes I'm just like, just for the sake of not wasting time, like just, if it doesn't click instantly, it doesn't click instantly, and just stay there, because that will save you a lot of time, but you also might miss out on a lot of things that could reveal themselves.
No, totally.
Throughout the process.
And I agree with you in that sense, and I'm always open to having my mind changed. Always. Like I really do. And most of the time, guys I've liked are guys that have grown on me. Like guys I didn't necessarily like off the bat, but over time I'm like, okay, you're really cute, or like you're actually really like cool and awesome.
Like, oh wait, you're actually cute.
Or like someone you didn't look at that way, and then you start to look at them that way.
I have a question for you as a girl. I guess like to you, it's like, how much of it really is though like that instant spark? Like how as far as like percentage of things go, like advice for guys out there too. I'm like, I need this for myself. But like, how often would you say, if it's somebody that like, whether it be like you want to hook up with, or you want to date, or like whatever it is, like how often is it like pretty quick? For me, and my friends have told me this, so maybe I'm not the best like spokesperson for girls, but I know mine's like pretty instant. But at the same time, like guys do grow on me, but the instant connection, and like I feel like I can tell right off the bat if
this person has potential or not. Like
Yeah.
I can tell as soon as you walk through the room, like, because that's sexual attraction. That's like your like weird physical body connection there. Like
Yeah.
you can tell. And there's some people that surprise me over like a year long of knowing them. They've been my friend. I'm like, oh my God, fuck, I like this guy. Are you kidding me?
Which is like, it's always so fun.
Yeah, no, it's fun, and it's
You're like, wait, this is so
yeah,
we're
you're like,
so
wait,
bad.
what is happening?
We're
to me
friends.
right now?
We
I can't
can't.
believe I'm doing this right now. But no, I think most importantly, it's that
Don't we just love surprises?
I love a surprise.
It's pretty. Every time I feel like not excited. I mean, I'm like, I wake up every day pretty fucking happy. Like,
amped.
it could be like the best day of my life. But one thing that keeps me constantly excited is like, I do love meeting people, and of course, like, especially when I'm single, like the idea of like romantically meeting somebody, it's always like, shit, you have no idea, but like today or next week or 6 months from now, you have like no idea who you accidentally might bump into or who might already be there that just like turns into this thing that like completely just flips your life upside down in this roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's like that, like the element of surprise, like not just knowing that like that could just happen
Yeah.
at any point. Like,
no, it is pretty crazy. Like at any point, someone can just walk into your life and shake the entire thing on its head.
Yeah.
Like literally flip your entire life upside down
the
and
best
change
friend thing is definitely
intention.
a goddamn earthquake.
Yeah.
It's like when you've like,
That's a slow burn for me. I'm like, it sneaks up on me, and I'm like, are you kidding?
It's like it's like a French indie film, just a
Yeah.
slow burn. You just gotta wait till you get to the ending scene.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I feel like I'm not one to ask about relationship stuff just because I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm going to be one of those people that like has like 2 boyfriends their whole life and that's it.
You're in a relationship with yourself, Charlotte.
I think so.
You are.
I really think I am.
You don't think so? You know so. You exude that like confidence and like.
Well, I think everyone should be in a relationship with themselves. I don't necessarily think it's maybe the best way to go through life the way I'm going through it, but it's just how it happens to be
and
for me.
the way I'm going through it, I could say based on what we talked about, might be the opposite, where I'm like very like just all over the place, like running around. And it's not the best way either. But
What do you mean all over the place? Like in what way?
I mean, it's like I like in a sense like I'm girl obsessed in the sense that it's like I mentioned earlier, like I don't spend enough time alone, and I think I crave company more than I should, and sometimes I think I crave it even for the wrong reasons.
What are the wrong reasons?
I think the wrong reasons could be because like in my position, it's like I said, I'm pretty used to constant stimulation. I'm always doing something. I'm working, I'm socializing, I'm exercising, I'm always doing something. And I think sometimes I'll like crave company because it's like this stimulating thing, and it's like exciting to be around somebody, especially someone that maybe you're romantically interested, like, that gets your cylinders firing. And you're like, and sometimes I'm like, am I just craving this because I can't just like chill and just be by myself? You know?
So do you think it's mostly the company? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of that. Also, just like a love for people.
Yeah.
It seems like you're very much like you spend a lot of time alone.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't see like you don't really like date around or do anything. And it's like I guess I don't really either. But I'm like more on that like
you're more normal.
I want to meet people, or like want to do this, or sometimes I'm like, dude, just like chill out. Like, you don't like stop being so worried about like hopefully meeting someone tonight.
I think there's a healthy balance between the two of us.
Like, dude, shut up. Like, you're fine,
There's a healthy balance between the two, which is like not necessarily what I'm doing, maybe not necessarily what you're doing, but it's having the ability to do both. Like to be completely by yourself, but then also not really care, if it happens or not.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, maybe you should just be alone for like the rest of your life.
I think that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. It takes a lot for me to like want to date somebody. Like it takes like a really interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, you're a fucking oddball. As much as I feel like I know you, at certain times I'm like, this girl's got layers. Doesn't Shrek say like layers like an onion?
Yeah. Yeah, you got to keep peeling.
No, Charlotte's got some fucking layers, guys.
I don't think I do. But thank you.
She's out of her mind. I'm speaking from experience.
I don't know what that means.
Charlotte's got layers. There's levels to this girl.
You've got layers too.
I feel like you always got like some sort of ace up your sleeve. Like right when we feel like people have got you figured out, like that's your brand. Like don't even act like you're not just loving this conversation right now.
No, I don't think that's my brand. I don't know what my brand is. I think my brand is just having a good time.
It's just having a good time.
Yeah. But no, I do think, but I think that all stems from spending time alone, because you just figure out what the fuck you want. And like that changes day to day, and it only evolves the more time you spend alone. Like you really just figure. I think that's the secret to life, is just spending as much time as you can alone with your thoughts to figure out who the hell you are.
That was a bomb. See, the secret to life.
That's I'm letting you in on it.
That was a mic. That was a mic
kidding.
dropper.
Yeah. What about you with girls? What's like your dynamic in a relationship? Like what role do you play?
I'm definitely very dominant, but not from a place of like hopefully not from like a place of control or ego. I think dominant in a sense that I really do like a sense of like providing and planning. I mean, even in my friendships, like I always try to host. I always try to be the one spearheading
That's
the
true,
plans.
actually.
To a certain extent, it is an element of control, and a lot of it's also because
okay.
of my job. Like, like the photographer in a lot of ways is kind of making decisions amongst like this whole group of people for like how something's happening. But yeah, so no, like in a relationship, I definitely I play a role of like I try to really like I play like a dominant role, but I'm it's like I think it's cool when somebody else can do the same thing too.
Yeah.
Like I like very independent women. I think it's really sexy, and I think that intimidates boys, but inspires men. That's a quote. And I like the more and more I get older, I try to push myself to be like, hey, like, for like, be really seeking out the people that are almost hard, because like, like it's easy to be with someone that is like impressed by anything you say and is like more submissive, and like, because it's like it's satisfactory.
Yeah.
And a lot of people wouldn't admit that.
Yeah.
But like girls and guys both get this feeling subconsciously when they feel like they're the shit.
Yeah.
Because the other person's just like,
it's not a challenge.
And where it's like you really do have to like push yourself to challenge yourself. I'm like constantly like, look, like, challenge yourself. Like,
no, I mean, I've had similar conversations with my guy friends, and where they're in the same situation where they want like a challenge and they want to feel that kind of, and they don't necessarily want to be.
A lot of people say that, even like myself, but we end up not going, we end up not necessarily choosing people that are as challenging. And it's like, I'm trying to force myself to like, really break out and meet, like, I would love to meet somebody that really like genuinely just like rocks my world, in the sense where I'm like, fuck, like this is a ride, it's like, sometimes people mistake challenges too for difficult people or like people that are almost like kind of shitty to them. Which, yes, that's challenging.
That's just the wrong way to look at it.
It's challenging, but like not challenging the right way. But like there's like,
if you're smart, a challenge is someone that knows more than you, or like can actually challenge you in a conversation. You know what I mean? But I feel like
how great is like an argument on a first date, but like a constructive argument.
Yes.
I feel like if you go
it's like a debate.
I feel like that's like a great sign. If you have like a debate with somebody on like a first date where you guys like kind of disagreeing, but bantering, and like each of your perspectives is leaning more towards the same thing. Bro, that's communication at its finest. That's fucking sick.
Agreed. And there's no like real, like the person's not really judging you, but they're challenging you. Like I agree that it is what it's about.
Interesting, but I just feel
exactly. Yeah. I feel like guys though like struggle with finding kind of partners that challenge them, because what I've noticed, at least, you can again disagree with me, but like because they value a sexual attraction more, I think, than girls do. Girls value it. Everyone values it. Who doesn't want that? But guys value it far more.
No, 100%. I feel like to a certain extent, we can't speak for everybody, but I think to a certain extent, guys are like driving drunk. In like the romantic life, where I feel like girls are like, 10 and 2, like pretty hands on the wheel. Can't speak for everybody. Like I feel like guys are like
we're
driving down the freeway, and it's like, if like the opposite sex or same sex or whatever you're interested in are like billboards, you're like driving like, whoa, like, oh, should I take this exit? Like, I'm gonna get back here. Let me switch lanes. Let me get over here. And then I feel like girls are very much like,
girls are way more logical. They really are. And when choosing the opposite sex of who to date, like they are much more logical.
It varies. It's actually,
sometimes
at the same time, not fucking at all. Like it's kind of
true.
That's like one thing I've come to a conclusion with for a while. I'm like, okay, like guys fall short in this area,
and girls fall short in this area.
And girls fall short in this area. But I'm like, honestly, like I would say guys and girls fall short equally in different. They're just different areas.
We're not the same, but we complement each other.
Yeah,
you know, and that's it. We're very different.
Scientifically makes sense.
Exact, and thank God that we do. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think girls sometimes will like to that. Like I've noticed, like girls are more susceptible of being in relationships where they don't get the respect they deserve. Where guys will do that less.
They said in the Perks of a Wallflower. We accept the love that we think we deserve.
Yeah.
That's just the truest shit. And it's actually so sad sometimes.
Yeah.
Do
you think girls have lower self-esteem as a total? Because that's what I'm thinking of, but I don't know if that's necessarily true.
No, I think that those things just surface in different ways. Like I think
that's true.
Guys and girls probably share equally, like low self-esteem at times. They just they handle them differently
and in different categories.
Yeah, and as I've said too, it's like can't speak for everybody. Just maybe I'm being a little general here, but like it's like I feel like girls that might have low self-esteem will find themselves in relationships with people that treat them like shit.
Yeah.
Where I feel like guys that have low self-esteem are the guys that treat people like shit.
Exactly.
And I feel like it's, oh wow, yeah, that just clicked. That makes sense.
Yeah, no,
that just made sense. It's like the guy that like just puts somebody down hates himself.
Yeah.
And like the girl that accepts that like hates himself.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, like fix that.
What makes a good model to shoot?
I think like what makes a good model is, and this is tough, but like I think there's a couple things, but I think the big thing is if you're somebody that brings this energy to the table where it's very collaborative, like you're going to create great shit with a photographer. Mm-hmm. It's like if you're a model that like is constantly looking at inspo and mood boards and expanding like your taste and ideas, or like, brings pieces to the shoot, like if it's self-styled where it's like, oh, I think this would look cool. Like if like anybody that comes to the shoot and, sometimes I'm very specific as what I want, but like most people come to the shoot and it's kind of like, yeah, you just tell me like, I don't care. I just trust you, which I get that and it's fine. But there is something about someone that like comes to shoot and they're almost wanting to direct it with you. And it feels like you guys are creating something together. Like almost like the model is the photographer, but she's the subject. Like it's like very collaborative and you guys are like kind of like riffing off each other's ideas. And like, I think that's really dope. And that comes from somebody that like has creativity and taste and like likes the things they like like working with you. It's like I feel like you're a good example in the sense that I know for a fact that like you make mood boards and you have inspo and it's like we could shoot something and like you'd be able to draw from your like your little, say like a hat's filled with paper and that's your brain,
like your
all
encyclopedia,
piece of paper, like ideas, like because then that plays into the poses, like the vibes, like somebody that like
I don't actually make mood boards, but but
I know you. I know that like you have aesthetic appreciation.
Yeah,
like, see
totally.
different things. I think that's somebody that like somebody that can come in and like bring taste and this and that.
Have you ever had a model that you work with that does that, but it's not necessarily what you like? Like have you clash in that sense? Like a model is like wants kind of this vision, but you're not agreeing with that.
Yes, but that being said, I feel like at this point, it's pretty clear what I do, and I try to like really see what somebody else does. Yeah. So a lot of times working together, it's like we're kind of an understanding of like what each other's vibes are, and it's like I try to communicate prior to the shoot. But no, there's shoots where somebody will have ideas, and it's like this is maybe where part of my like newfound just blunt honesty has come from, where I'm like, look, I don't think so.
Newfound blunt honesty.
We're like, no, I took a while where I'm like, I don't think that looks good. I don't think that's cool. And if they're like, well, I really think it would, that's where I'm like, okay, then we're going to try it. Yeah. And we'll try my way, we'll try your way. And then it can go backwards where somebody could be like, I don't like this. Mm-hmm. Look, we'll try it. If you don't like it, we don't use it. Like, I'm going to get your approval for everything. Yeah.
That's something I respect. You actually do always ask for approval. You're very cautious of that.
It's like my biggest nightmare is like posting some shit that just like makes somebody so upset. Cause it's just like the internet is like, I have followers now. And it's like, it's not like it's like 10 fucking people. It's like 500,000 of them. I'm like, if I post something and someone hates the way they look, or there's like some little fucking detail I could never think of that just drives them nuts. And I'm like, it's actually not forgiving. It doesn't even matter if you delete it. It's just like, yeah, like, hey, photographers, I've said this a million times, always ask. It doesn't matter if you're working with somebody that doesn't even have an Instagram or you're working with somebody that's 2 billion followers. Just always fucking ask.
It's good advice for people who want to build like a strong relationship with who they shoot with, because like I respect you for doing that. You always ask and you're always making sure I'm cool with everything. I hear it all the
time, especially if I shoot something that's like nude. People like I've heard like girls all the time always be like, they'll kind of say something in this state of panic, like, you know, like, you're not gonna like just like put this out, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, of course not. Like, you're not wearing clothes. Like, you think I'm just gonna like put this on the internet without like asking you?
Yeah, I remember
like,
we did that, or I shot like topless with you, and you're like, "Can I post these?" I was like, "Yeah, just like make sure my nipple's not in." You're like, "Charlotte, obviously I'm not gonna post your fucking nipple."
Yeah, I'm like people.
And it just made me feel, you were just like, yeah, like, are you fucking you? I was just like, yeah, okay, Sam's
yeah,
cool.
and
like,
I was
like
actually
him.
talking about this with somebody the other day. There's a lot of photographers that will make girls sign model releases when they shoot. It's basically the girl signing off that they can use the photos anywhere for anything.
Who does that?
A lot of photographers do it. You're in a position where I feel like you're a little, because of your success, you're a little bit more intimidating, and people might not pull that with you. But a lot of photographers do it, so if they want to make a book one day or have a gallery, they don't have to go back and reach out. They don't have to worry that maybe you're at a different place in your life. And if they shot you nude 3 years ago and they want to publish it, you signed something and you were 18 and you had no idea what you were doing, and they can just fucking use it.
Yeah.
And is that convenient because you don't have to go back and reach out to people and you just like know that you can do whatever with your photos and not get sued? Yeah. Is it horrible? Yes. I would never make someone do that, because it's like, people are always at different places in their life. Like, maybe you shoot something like really sexy or this with someone years back, but now they're at a point where like they don't want that branding, or like, you know, or it's like, say,
or they hated the images.
Yeah, or say I'm putting in a book, or it's like, how could you make somebody sign off on photos before they've seen them?
Yeah.
Or it's like, I'm publishing a book. Why would I like have someone sign something on the spot so I could just use it? It's like, I would much rather hit them up and have them sign it, because it's like, I don't want anybody in like my lifelong establishment of like a physical copy of work to not want to be in it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be like, well, sucks, you signed it. It's like, no, like, fuck, I don't want you in it if you don't want to be in it. It's like, I want us all to be excited about this, you know?
Yeah. Well, now I can see like where your clear like ability to read people and intuition like comes into play for your success, because like it makes people respect you, and it's more long standing because people will like you. And like the ability, like you said, like the ability to have power and people liking you is more powerful than different types of power. And it's true, because that's so long standing. You'll have a group of people that can vouch for you.
It's like, you'll become the most powerful person if you can manage to like respect yourself but respect others.
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Yeah.
Crazy world we live in. People suck. Everyone's just getting canceled left and right.
Everyone's getting canceled. Have you been canceled before?
Absolutely
Really?
not.
Okay.
No,
you haven't?
It used to scare
Wait,
the
you
shit
have or haven't?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
It used to scare the fuck out of me, not because I've done
canceled.
anything to get canceled, but just because like everybody get canceled, and I'm like, so I'm gonna like make some shit up, or am I gonna like, someone's gonna take something I say
I'm gonna
out of
tell you right
context?
now, you will get canceled just for something. Like, it's not even gonna be something you do wrong. You just will. Just statistically, you will.
I feel like wow, that sucks.
No, but I'm preparing you so you care less when it happens.
Yeah, but I also feel like if you didn't really do anything that's actually wrong, and people are just coming at you, it does pass.
Yeah, no, and it will, and that's probably what will happen.
Fucking should. Like, people just attack anybody in the limelight. It's like, hey, we're all humans. Like, you know, it's like,
well, everyone's been canceled at this point. That cancel culture, I feel like, holds less value because every single celebrity or every person that's famous has been canceled. So is anyone canceled? The closest I had ever gotten, no one's canceled.
The closest I had ever gotten to being canceled, and this is so fucking ironic, is, you know, the BLM movement is at its fullest. The protests are raging, like it's really going off. And I'm like, you know, and it made me very aware of like how prevalent the issue of racism is in our country and everything. And then for the first time, like I really did feel motivated to like contribute to it. So I had Wish Me Luck, my clothing brand, sell a t-shirt with all of the profits going to like, you know, for bonds, for people that are in prison for the wrong, like just all the different charities for BLM. We put it up and we're like, we didn't place the order for the t-shirts prior because we didn't have anywhere to sell. We sold way more of that charity t-shirt than anything. So we were going to be like, we'll do this for 48 hours, then whatever it caps at, then we'll get it made. Which obviously takes a little bit. Mm-hmm. While this was all going on, a couple weeks earlier, I had bought a new car and I'd bought a new watch. Mm-hmm. I do this thing and somebody goes on their story and goes, oh my God, Sam Dameshek sold a T-shirt for BLM, and he took all the money and he bought a Mercedes and a watch. Yeah. And I'm like, first of all, I bought that 2 weeks ago.
With my own money.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
And then other people started posting, and then it became this thing where somebody tried to start a rumor that like me and Alex were pocketing the money. Like I got like, and then people started attacking. Yeah. People started attacking me, being like, "Oh, like you're just using BLM to get attention to your platform." I'm like, no, I'm using my platform to bring attention to BLM. So like I got I got like absolutely attacked on the internet for raising money for Black Lives Matter. And then finally I just posted a screenshot of like a PayPal receipt of $30-something thousand to a charity, and I'm like, fuck you guys. And everyone's like,
the fact you even have to do that
he's cool. And I'm like, dude, like what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's why I say like I can speak with confidence of that I know you'll get canceled because it actually doesn't matter who the people are. Yeah.
Somebody messaged me and goes, "You're such a fucking pussy. Like, if you want to actually help, go to a protest." And I literally replied, and I was like, honestly, dude, I'm a huge pussy. That's why I haven't gone to the protest. Like, that shit looks really scary.
You're right.
I'm like, so I'm at my house, and I'm going to try to contribute in whatever way I can.
Yeah.
And the person replies and goes, "Dude, honestly, I didn't go either because I was way too scared." And I go, you just literally DM'd me to call me a pussy for not going to the protest. It's like, fuck you. Like, you're just hating because it's like, oh, everybody else is mad, so I'm just going to be mad at you for no reason. Yeah. Shut the fuck up. Like,
no, 100%. Well, that you just have to like gear you have to be wiser in the sense of like, I know these people are just angry and they like to get angry at certain people. Like it's fun for them. And so the less you care about being canceled for things that you didn't actually do and you know you're a good person, the less it's going to affect you.
Just don't get canceled for shit that you should be canceled for.
Yeah, don't actually make terrible mistakes. But like innocent mistakes and people people spinning you in a bad light is inevitable.
Here's some great advice. Don't make terrible mistakes.
That's really good advice, Sam. Thank you.
Pretty insightful.
That's really insightful. I'm going to follow that.
Charlotte, I feel like we've been going back and forth for a while, and we probably could. So I'm happy to chat a little bit more, or we could figure out where.
Do you want to? Yeah. What point should we end on? We can end here too.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the. We just get along too well.
I know.
This could be like a 6-hour podcast. It could be like a novel of a podcast. No, it'll be like the whole J.K. Rowling Harry Potter series of podcasts.
We'll make it
going.
We can make it a segment. You come on once a month, and we just talk our shit.
I'll just be your host with you. And
we can co-host.
Badass in this little chair. Like, imagine I sit. I'm like sitting on the arm of it. Like,
should we just like have like you and I on this chair and we just grill people?
Yeah. Imagine.
Tell me everything you've done wrong. We're both sitting there right
next to each other, sunglasses on. Like, hey. How do you really feel? Charlotte D'Alessio, everybody. I just wanted to thank you. I just wanted to thank you for coming on my podcast. It's been quite the pleasure to have you here. I'm totally kidding. You do.
Thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. You're one of my favorite photographers I've shot with, and you're my Instagram photo icon. So I think that means a lot. And Sam's the best.
Well, you're one of my favorite people I've ever worked with.
Stop. Wow, this is mutual.
One of my favorite people in the industry. Are we having a moment?
Are we having a moment right now?
This is crazy.
We've had this moment before.
I'm getting so nervous. I get nervous around pretty girls. Yeah. Anyways.
Thank you for joining me on this podcast. You're a great guest.
I'm like 3 glasses of wine deep. I'll just start saying stupid shit. Can we like mic cheers?
Yeah.
Like cheers.
And real cheers.
Wait, hold on. Just wanted the sound effect.
It's going to be a good ASMR.
Okay. All right, we're done. I love you, Charlotte. I love you,
Sam.
Thank you for having me.
That was a good podcast.
That was fucking amazing.